Today, I'm going to share with you some charts and research that I found that show that we may be heading toward recession. And I'm Bradford Ferguson with rebellionaire.com and happy to share this with you today. So, first, I want to go backwards. And people often ask, what if something happens to the US dollar? If the dollar gets supplanted as the world's reserve currency and we have inflation, what's the best way to hedge against that? And research has shown over and over in different economies that stocks have been the best hedge against inflation. Mexico went through a terrible devaluation of the peso. I believe it was in the 80s. And Mexican stocks were the best thing to own then, even better than gold. Um, so, not investment advice, but just something to keep in mind. Um, all right, so let's zoom up here. So Meyer Thacker, he has been talking about potential for recession, highlighting spots of economic weakness, and he has created a leading cyclical employment index. So you're looking at employment, but you're looking at cyclical industries. Um, and what he's saying is here is that the unemployment rate crossed its 36-month moving average, so 3-year moving average for the first time this cycle. These events only occur at the onset of, of recessions. So let's take a deeper look. Okay, we have it crossing the 3-month average here. There was a recession in the early 90s, and then it crosses again during the tech bubble. Um, and there was a recession then. We had another recession here as a great financial crisis. I think we all predicted a recession during the health crisis, and it's happening just again where it's crossed. So every time it's crossed in this graph, it's showing a recession occurred. So this is 100%. That doesn't necessarily mean a recession will occur, but it does mean that um, it, it it does mean we should probably pay attention here. And this is where Meyer Thacker is looking at cyclical leading employment versus aggregate payrolls. This chart here. Um, so we have that. So, one let me go to the next item. So housing, it's a great time to be renting versus owning. If you look at the rates that people are getting for rent um, versus the mortgage, um, it's a pretty good time to be a renter. I'll get into this in some other videos, but I just want to erase that. And I think where people get tripped up is, there are people who get second homes and rent them out as passive income. And where people get tripped up is you can size your mortgage anywhere you want. So let's say, well, the renter is paying for my mortgage, and then any increase I get in the value of my property beyond that is just gravy. And I don't believe that's the right way to think about it, because you can size the mortgage however you want. Um, it's the value of an asset, like how much is that asset yielding in earnings to you every year versus what you can get elsewhere. That's what's important. And we'll get into that another time. Here's another one. We have negative growth in full time unemployment. A lot of the jobs recently have come from part time employment. So part time employment's greatly increasing, full time employment's greatly decreasing. And when you look at this here, so we crossed here. It crossed in the health crisis. It crossed prior to the great financial crisis. It crossed here before the tech bubble bursting. It crossed here in the 90s. So that seems fairly reliable as a recession indicator. I think the important thing here is just to be aware of what's going on. And as it comes to your investments, think about how recession could affect the companies that you invest in. How dependent are they on a strong economy? Um, this chart here is talking about the Bloomberg U.S. Economic Surprise Index. It's dropped to a 9-year low. So that's saying like new information, the way this index is calculated has been negative, and it's pretty bad. Um, what's funny to me is this index didn't get lower in 2020. um, so I think this is, measuring the U.S. economy versus what most analysts think, and it's cooling quicker than analysts think. So I'm guessing in 2020, analysts already knew there was going to be a recession, um, so that's why this wasn't lower then. This seems noisy and not as fruitful here. Um, Now we have the ISMs, the Institute of Supply Managers, I believe, and that index. And this has been in contraction territory. Um, so that's a bit concerning. And what Meyer says here, well, I clicked on something and didn't take me to it. Let's try show more. A plurality of U.S. GDP and jobs come from professional services. We're primarily a service economy in the U.S. This sector is best measured by the ISM Services Index. So it'd be important to track how services are doing in the U.S. It rarely enters contraction outside of recessions, but this is not foolproof, as Myers alluding to. Has never posted back-to-back monthly contractions outside of recessions. So that is a pretty meaningful indicator, something to take notice of. We just got the lowest reading since COVID. If the July reading is again below 50, there will be mounting evidence that we are entering recession. So if the biggest portion of our economy for US GDP and jobs is services, then this is concerning. And before we get to Alex here, just want to talk about what we do through recessions and booms in the economy is, mainly we stay focused on what the companies are doing at a fundamental level. So here it says buy damaged stocks. So companies where the revenue is going up, but the stock is going down. So what we look for in various economic situations is companies that are doing better within their industry. So they're doing better than their competitors in the industry. So they're making progress um, in their position despite what's going on economically, but also what it could suggest in poor economic times if you continue to see economic growth and the business continuing on is that it may be a secular shift. So we're looking for secular um, trends to invest in with companies, and it says avoid damage companies where revenue is going down with the stock and the profits at the same time. Um, I do want to say, a note about the U.S. economy here and to celebrate Alexander Mers becoming a U.S. citizen. Um, so the U.S. the U.S. attracts the best talent in the world. Alexander Mers is a testament to this, and people still want to come to the U.S. Despite any grievances people may have about how things are in the U.S. People still want to live here. So we have I believe, some of the highest economic freedom in the U.S. and the ability to do great things. Alexander Mers is a great testament to this. She has a thriving business where she helps people immigrate to the U.S. Um, with business plans, and but also what she's done individually is the difference she made in the U.S. The Tesla shareholder vote. Um, so, one person can make a difference, and you have people coming to the US that are all stars like her, that help our economy stay vibrant. So what do you do with all this other information that seems to be pointing to a recession? I think the first thing is just to be aware of it, and to dig into these things that I've shared with you, and verify, is it true that each time these indicators has crossed a certain threshold, does it mean that we've crossed, did a recession actually happen coincidentally at that same time? um, so be good to verify what we're saying. We don't attest to being right or correct all the time. Also, consider how the changing economy could affect your investments. Anyhow, I'm Bradford Ferguson with Rebellionaire. It's been good talking with you. Bye for now.